And so the showing up humility wise is like, no, God, I know I will ruin it. No, I know if I do it my way, I'm gonna screw it all up. I'm gonna do it wrong, and I have to give it up to you. It's another Monday night, another night of recover, another gift from God, and tonight's was interesting. I went and read the questions before group started, and I was like, nope, nope, don't want to answer these tonight. But if God's taught me anything in the last couple months, is that if my fleshly desire doesn't want to do something, it's probably a good reason. There's probably something really good on the other side. And so we're stepping out tonight, and where are we at tonight, Lawrence? Where are we at?
So it's another Monday night at Recover. We show up here every Monday, every week, expectant that God is going to show up, and that there will be some questions that kind of dig deeper into what we may be going through or dealing with, where we're at with our recovery, where we can still grow in our recovery and everything like that. But we're here to expand on our evening. And this is AfterCare. I'm Lawrence.
And I'm Jeremy.
This was... you read the questions beforehand. I didn't read the questions until we were in group, and then when I read them, I was like, oh man, like this is it's a tough week of questions. It's not that they're hard questions, it's that they're hard answers.
Mm-hmm.
And
isn't it kind of weird that you've had the week you've had, and I've had the week we've had, and these questions come up right now?
Yeah.
Not on an easy week, not on a happy, chill week.
For me, it's not even the week, it's the year. It's just the season of life. So when you get faced with these questions, and for me, the season I'm in and what I'm personally dealing with, these questions were just like gut punch. Yeah.
Yep. Oh man. Well, maybe before we get into that, how are you doing? You want to check in?
I'm putting one foot in front of the other.
Taking it one day at a time.
One day at a time.
Yeah.
And I think that's where I'm at in my recovery. Yeah, I did say, as I went to lead the group tonight, that I've been doing this for 4.5 years. And when you've done it for this long, it's interesting how you can still find yourself in a season where it's like, what is going on? And like, I didn't expect to be here, but this is where we're at, And it's seasons like this that make me realize, like, when you talk to people who have been a part of a recovery program, and they're like 18, 19, 20 years in, like, why they keep showing up and why they're still a part of the program. Because here I am 4 years in, I feel like I'm doing pretty well, and I'm still struggling. And that just goes to show, what life is. No matter what's going on, you can find yourself in a season where you're just like, this is hard.
Yeah. And that's something that I talk about a lot. It's like, so often we think that life is supposed to be, we're supposed to be done, and it's supposed to be easy, and we're supposed to be finished and have it all figured out. But not in this life. We're not supposed to have it in this life. So struggle is part of it. Struggle is part of that sanctification. If we go back to past episodes, that's what we talked about.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm in the same boat this week. God's given me some amazing blessings, some amazing friendships, and some amazing things, and he's asked me to give up some of those things on a more uncomfortable level than I wanted to this past week. So I've been sad, but been stepping out of faith that God, I don't like this, but I'm gonna do it because I know you have a bigger plan. And so when I saw those questions tonight, I'm like, saving it for the podcast tonight.
Yeah, it's man, it's interesting. Like I said, I'm just kind of like in a point in life where I want to be doing. I just want to be living, you know, and I don't feel like I'm.
I feel like you're surviving right now.
Yeah,
Instead
yeah,
of living, instead of
yeah,
thriving, you're just hanging on.
yeah.
Yeah, I get that.
And man, I had a conversation, you know, with a family member, and I said, I told him, you know, hey, you know, thanks for sticking with me through this process of recovery. I honestly thought this many years in that I would be in a much different place than I am. Like I thought I would be a little bit further along.
Yeah.
And maybe some people may be further along in their journey, but where I'm at in my journey, you know, it's like I thought I'd be further along. You know, my story was that my rock bottom was like losing everything, a lot of relationships, career down the drain, home, and so for me, like what's been really tough is getting the career part back on track has been tough because it's like you kind of when you mess it up, it's hard to come back from, right? And I didn't expect that. I thought that would be the easy part. I thought everything else would be the hard part, and that's actually been the harder part, and I think that's tough.
Yeah.
You know, as the provider, protector, priest of my household.
Yeah.
When that part of it is not working out, or it's just difficult or harder than it had been in the past, that part's tough.
Yeah. Bet. Ooh. Well, should we?
Yeah, I mean, we're kind of talking around it.
Yeah. That's.
So I think, let's start here. It's July. There I go, dating stuff again. But we're into step 7 right now, and wherever you jump in at, whether you jump into an episode and we're on step 12 or step 2 or step 7, I would still encourage you to still, you know, dive in wherever you're at. Like most of the time when you start recovery, you never know when you're jumping in, or what meeting you're jumping into. But there's still something that you can glean out of everything, and then hopefully you find an opportunity to go through a full program and understand like the full steps. But right now, as a group, we're in step 7. So just to kind of touch base on what step 7 is. Step 7 is that we humbly asked him to remove all our shortcomings, right? And this week, our verse of the week was 1 John 1, 8 through 9. If we claim to be without sin, we deceive ourselves, and the truth is not in us. If we confess our sins, he is faithful and just and will forgive us our sins and purify us from all unrighteousness. And then as we got into the questions this week, we had 3 questions this week. I encourage each one of you to dig deep, you know, answer hard questions, deal with tough answers. And that's why we're going through this with you, is to take the first step, right? And if we can do it, you can do it too, even if it's hard. And if you can't do it bold, do it scared.
Yeah.
But you can do it. One thing I want to say real quick before I get into the questions you talked about, this side of eternity and, and when we're in heaven. And I was just thinking about the end of the serenity prayer, where we say, we can hopefully be reasonably happy in this life.
Reasonably happy, yeah.
But ultimately the goal is to be supremely happy with you forever in the next. Right. So it's, that's the goal, right?
Yep.
Is like,
Yep.
God help me get through this side of life.
Yep. Yep.
And then one day,
One day.
one day,
One day.
we're just going to be supremely happy with you forever,
Yep,
for all of
that's right.
eternity. So
That's right.
that being said, our first question of the night, we've talked a lot about the importance of humility in submitting to God's healing. What does humility look like for you in your relationship with God?
Oh, well, I got into this a little bit earlier today, or earlier in the episode. God's asked me to give up some friendships, some relationships that I not necessarily give them up, but just change the way I show up in these relationships. Not that they were wrong or I was doing anything bad before, but it could have led down the road into I wasn't being intentional with the way that I was having this relationship. And so being humble right now is giving that up. Is giving up what I think I deserve or I'm supposed to have. Letting all that go, saying, okay, God, I don't like this, but I know you have a bigger plan and I know you have a bigger purpose, and I don't want to worship another relationship like I did with my ex-wife. And God's almost giving me this one-for-one opportunity to be like, hey, you did this wrong this way in the past. Here's your chance to do it right this time. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna give it up to you, God. I'm gonna give up this and show up and be a man of integrity and let it go and basically play God in that sense. And so the showing up humility wise is like, no, God, I know I will ruin it. No, I know if I do it my way, I'm gonna screw it all up. I'm gonna do it wrong, and I have to give it up to you. I have to let it go, and I have to trust that you have a better plan, and that if I step out in faith, I don't know what's gonna happen. I might lose this friendship, but I might not. And God doesn't promise. He's not promising either way. He's just saying, just give it to me, and trust that what's supposed to happen is supposed to happen. And I'm not gonna lie. This past week, I've been really sad. I've been really sad because I miss talking to this person in the way that we used to. But that's not gonna stop me from doing what I know is right and changing how I show up this time than I did with my ex-wife. So that's how. So you can see I didn't go to group tonight.
Yeah.
So I skipped group tonight because I was like, I don't know if I have the energy to answer this question honestly. Like, I knew if I went out in group and answered that question, I was gonna probably say some half copy and paste answer, like, and it wouldn't be honest, it wouldn't be true. So I was like, I need to just step back and not be a part of group tonight and put all of it into the podcast tonight. Which actually I got to. There was another friend tonight who didn't join group tonight, and he needed some one-on-one time with me. So it worked out the way God wanted it to work out tonight, which is cool.
Yeah, it's hard, right? Like humility, and walking with God, and being humble and humility in that relationship. Like for me, one of the things that I talked about was how I started recover, right? One of the hardest things for me was that I used to like run from God.
Mm.
And if I was not living the way I should be, I just tried to get as far away from God as possible. Like I know if I did something I wasn't supposed to be doing, I was like, I'm not sniffing a church.
Yeah.
I'm not reading a Bible. I don't want to hear
Mm-hmm.
not nam none
Yep. Yep.
of a bit of like any sort of worship music. Like I wanted to get as far away as from it as possible. And in group tonight, I drew the line to like Adam in the garden, right? Adam in the garden, like he wasn't walking in humility; he was walking in humiliation,
Mm.
right? Once he
Mm-hmm.
realizes he's naked in the garden, he goes and hides,
Yep.
right? And that's what I would do. I just lived in a state of humiliation and not in a state of humility.
Mm.
Both require you to be naked
Yeah.
before God. One is please don't look on all of my problems,
Yeah.
all of my issues. I don't want you to see that. And walking in humility with God is saying, I messed up. Here's all the flaws. Here's all the mistakes, even all the ones that I don't even know that you know.
Yeah.
I need you. Help me to deal with these things. Fix them. Heal me of them. And even now, 4.5 years in, I find myself still trying to hide from God sometimes.
Mm.
Like, like the biggest promise I made myself though when I started recover was as soon as you recognize it, run back to him.
Mm-hmm.
Don't continue to run away from him. As soon as you recognize that that's what you're doing, run back.
Yep.
And I've stuck to that, but it's hard. Sometimes I do want to just be like, God, like my thoughts are not right, or I got angry, or
Mm.
it's tough. And in a season right now where I'm struggling with what to do, like what do I do next, or I feel like I'm just going through the motions. It feels like there's still distance between me and God, and how do I deal with closing the gap?
Mm.
And the truth is there's not even a gap. God is right here anyways.
Yeah.
It's just how do I turn back to him
Mm.
when it's hard,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So do you have anything else for this question?
Yeah. The way we turn back is the way I've been seeing that is like there's so many times that I just don't want to do it. Like tonight, I was like, Lawrence, I don't want to do that.
Hmm.
And every time that I see that I don't want to do it, I have to do it. And each time you build up strength. It's just like exercising, just like running. Like first time it's gonna really suck, but you're also never gonna really want to be in pain. But the more that you go through that pain and then see the success past it, then you're gonna associate that pain with finishing with like succeeding.
Hmm.
So I'm slowly getting to that point where I'm like, okay, I really don't want to do this. Like I really don't want to talk about this. I really don't want to open myself up and be vulnerable. I really don't want to do inventory in my 12 step. And because I don't want to do it, I know that there's something bigger on the next side of it. Um, that's just that little snippet.
Yeah. Um, I think I've said all I can say for that question.
Yep.
Is there anywhere in your life right now that you are resisting God's invitation to submit to change?
Ooh. It's all like a resisting, but I'm not staying in resisting. Like I was saying, like I don't want to do this. I don't want to talk about these questions. I don't want to do the inventory. I don't want to. I don't want to give up this relationship that I have with this other friend. Um, so I guess that's the resistance, but I'm still doing it. I'm still gonna do it. I'm still gonna find the time and make the plans and step out in the way that I'm supposed to. And so I guess that's the biggest area that I'm resisting is in I still want to be married, I still want to have kids, I still want to have all that stuff. I was talking to another friend this week and I was like, I have everything I need. I have a house and a job and health and car and I have all the necessities to be alive. But I don't feel like I have anything that I want. And so I'm reevaluating, okay, what part of me is making this connection between I want a wife and kids and I'm reacting as if I need it. And so my resistance is to I don't want to dig that up and find out why it's all connected so much in myself. But in order to eventually get to that place, I have to.
Yeah.
I have to dig it up and I have to find out why. And I think it's good to notice that you're resisting. Because if it was all easy, everybody would be doing it, right? Everybody would have this figured out. And we wouldn't have that relationship with God that we need. Yeah, that's what I'm resisting. I'm resisting this whole episode tonight.
But you're doing it.
But we're doing it.
But you're doing it. Man. I hated this question. I'm a rock bottom kid, right? And when I started my recovery journey, in order for me to really change, I had to hit rock bottom. There was a lot of stop, turn back around, don't go there on the way down, right? And some people can see that their life is going in the wrong direction and say, I gotta do something different. And before they hit rock bottom, they're like, this is as low as I want to go. And they start to go the other direction. And for me, I've been somebody that's like, let's do this the hardest way possible. Let's go as deep can go.
You're stubborn.
And it with the drug and alcohol problem, with the childhood trauma, with the anger issues, with everything that I'm recovering my life from, it had to be the worst of the worst before it got fixed, before it got dealt with. And so when I started that journey, hitting rock bottom, it was like, okay, now God, I choose you. I got nowhere else. I got nothing. There's no other choice. There's nothing else.
Yeah. Well,
Right? And God has a way of allowing you to get hemmed in to a point where you look this way, there's a wall. You turn around, there's a wall. You go to the left, there's a wall. You go to your right, there's a wall. The only way to look is up. And that's what happened for me in my journey. And the 6 months leading up to me starting my recovery, on the way, is it's like, oh, we're off the cliff at this point, falling. Are you gonna pop the chute or not? You know, and it was a lot of spiritual warfare, spiritual battle. Where, like, I think I talked about this last week. Like, if you look at my playlist at that time, you could tell, like, I was in between two worlds. But it took me hitting rock bottom to actually to be like, okay, I repent, turning from this life, walking in the new life that you've given me. And so when it was give up drugs, cool, we're good, stop, moving on, walking with you, go to church every Sunday, cool, committed, did this, show up at recovery every week, cool, check. With all of that, I was able to, these first 4 years of my recovery, just God said, do this, okay, do this, okay, do this, okay. And at this point or stage of my recovery, I would think that anytime God told me to do something, it would just be okay. And with all those things, the answer was okay. And I just did it.
Yeah.
And right now, I feel like I'm at a point where I've insulated myself with the way that I go through life, and the people I have around me, what I listen to, what I watch. I've insulated myself from the world. And God is now telling me, hey, it's time for you to now step out on faith. And I'm like, no.
Like,
and he's like, you have to start living again. And I'm like, no.
I don't want to, God.
I'm good here. It's safe here. Like, you have me here. And he's like, cool. We've had you here, growing, learning, becoming the man that I've created you to be. Now go.
Yep.
And I'm like, no.
I don't want to.
And my life has started to get shaken up this year.
Yeah.
And I am resisting stepping out the way he wants me to step out. The answer has always been yes and amen throughout this 4 years. And for the first time in my recovery walk, the answer is like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. Like, why can't you just do what you do? You're God.
Yeah.
Like, you can make this all happen. We don't got to do that.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, I need you to just step out on faith and trust me. And I'm like, but I don't know how to do that. What you're asking me to do, I don't know how to do. And ultimately, I got to this point this evening where I was like, that's the point.
Yep. Yep. That's the whole point of faith.
That's the point, is everything that I've done for you now, like, you're not exercising faith anymore.
Yep.
And God is like, I need to see your faith now.
Yeah.
And I was exercising faith constantly for 4 years. And now I'm at a point where it's like, there's no more gains.
You just gotta do it.
And
Jump.
And yeah, it's that. And so yeah, just super resistant to what God is asking me to do in this season. And I know he's asking me to do it for my own good.
Yep.
And God, like any father, right? It's like we could do this the easy way, or we could do this the hard way.
Yep. Oh.
And I'm picking the hard way. It's stupid.
Yeah.
It's stupid, honestly, because he's good. So why don't? Where is the lack of trust coming from,
Yeah.
right? And it's just like not wanting to answer these questions today, where it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, God, I'm scared,
Yep.
and so
I think
it's
it
tough.
goes back to that humility. Like, if you have that true humility of God, like I know you know better than me. Like I know you're telling me to jump off this cliff without a parachute. It doesn't make any sense to me. Or like, but if you hold on to that pride, I'm like, God, no, I know what to do. I know I've got it figured out. Then you're not gonna jump. You're not gonna take that leap of faith. As we grow deeper and deeper in our identity in Christ, then that leap of faith, like yeah, it's still gonna be a leap. You're still not gonna know what's gonna happen. But the deeper that we know that God's got it, no matter what, then it's easier each time to take that leap. It doesn't mean that where He has us landing is maybe where we want to be, or it's not going to look the way that we think it should look. And then that falls back into, well, why are we worshiping this life? Why are we putting all of our hopes and dreams into this existence? And it all connects somehow, right? It blows my mind trying to explain it and talk about it, but that's what it is. God, I don't get it. This doesn't make any sense to me, but I'm still gonna do it. I'm still gonna do what you call me to do. All right, we had a third question.
Yeah. What does it look like for you to submit to God's plan for change in your life?
It's this. It's doing stuff I don't want to do. It's not like brainwashing myself and saying, "Oh yes, God's good. I know it's good. I know everything's gonna be fine, and I want to do this." Like, no, God gave me these emotions. I'm gonna fight. I'm gonna wrestle. I'm gonna say, God, I don't want this. I'm gonna wrestle with you. Like, I have these feelings and I have these emotions. I don't want to do this, but I know you're good, and I know what you have planned is the best. So I will still step out and trust you. Yeah, I mean, right now that looks like doing the podcast when I don't want to. Coming to recover Monday nights when I'm exhausted from the last 3 days, because I do recover Friday night, and then Saturday and Sunday was all like getting chores done and taking care of myself and cleaning my car and cleaning my house, and then Monday's right back at work, and Monday would be a nice night to just chill, take it easy, and not show up and not volunteer, but no, to continue to show up and to continue to do this, and but to continue to show up and say, like, even though this is hard, even though I don't want to do it, I'm still gonna show up, still gonna do it. So that's what it looks like. Not giving up on recover, not giving up on the podcast, and not giving up on, and not just disappearing, not just because I'm a when it comes to relationships, I have an anxious attachment style. So when someone isn't talking to me, then I'm kind of like, okay, what's wrong? What's going on? Are you mad at me? Thinking all these other things. And then when there's no connection like that, then I'm like, okay, they don't want to talk to me. I'm gonna disappear. I'm going to just hide and just pretend that I don't feel anything, that I don't exist, and I'm gonna go chill in my house, and if nobody reaches out, then nobody cares, and I was right. And instead of doing that, it's like, no, I'm still gonna show up. I'm still gonna be around. I'm still gonna be around this person that I want to talk to. And instead of pretending it doesn't exist, I'm still gonna be there. And I told another friend, it's kind of like when you go on a diet. Like if you have no self-control, then you have to chain up your fridge, don't buy treats, don't walk past Dairy Queen, don't go to Recover where they have ice cream social tonight. Which I didn't eat an ice cream tonight. I wanted to, but if you have to do all that, then what kind of self-control do you have?
Yeah, are you truly free?
Are you truly free? Like you're just locking yourself up in a cage, like, and I didn't want to do that. I want a handful of other things that I struggle with too is pornography. I've gained victory in that for like 3 years, and that's one thing that I got from getting married. I was like, I have to stop this because I'm married. But now it's to the point where no, I have to stop this for myself, or I'm never going to show up as the husband that I want to show up for whoever's God's got planned for me. And I know in the Bible it says, flee from this sin. And so if that's what you have to do, if you have to delete internet, you have to get rid of your phone, you have to gouge your eyes out, then it's better than sinning, right? But I couldn't come to someone and say, oh, I don't struggle with pornography anymore. And it's like, yeah, you don't have any access to it at all. There's no possible way you can do that. I tell people it's like, if a person lost both their arms and they're like, I've never punched a person in the face before.
Yeah.
Like, well, you can't.
Yeah. Like, what if you end up watching a movie and there's a scene in there? Like, are you
really free? Are you really, like, you have the capability of doing this, but you choose not to. And so for me, I live alone now. I do have internet. I could look at anything anytime I want, and nobody would really know. Like, I don't have roommates. I live all by myself. But I would know. And so God's been changing me in that way of, are you going to be proud of yourself? Can you stand in front of somebody else and say that can you go up on chip night and say that you haven't done this anymore? And like, oh, this is all about me and my relationship with God, not somebody else, not with my wife or my friendships or any of that. Like, it starts here first. And sometimes I feel like Michael Scott, where I just ramble until I get to, and I don't know how we got here, but
Yeah, I would say it's important to just recognize wherever we're at in the process, right? Because, like, if you are struggling with alcohol and you know that you can't go to a party because there's going to be alcohol there, don't put yourself in position to be in the party if you know that you can't go to the party yet. Yeah. Like, because there are seasons where, like, you do have to protect yourself from the thing that you're struggling from while God continues to do the work on you. Yep. Until he frees you up to the point where you can be around people that are drinking and it's no longer a struggle for you, or you're not triggered. Because we talk to people, right? There are people who, if they hear ice hit a glass, it's a trigger, right? So you do have to recognize just where you're at in your recovery and your sobriety, and what you can and cannot do. A term that I wasn't familiar with was being like was a dry alcoholic or a dry addict, right? Someone who is not drinking, but they still think about it constantly, So they're not completely free from the thing. They're not doing it, but they're not completely free. And, you know, it's important to recognize where you're at. Like, if you're not completely free, don't put yourself in a position to stumble. If you are completely free, awesome, praise Jesus, right? Alcohol is something that God has really helped me with, where I can be at a family gathering where other people are drinking and I don't even think about it. It's not a thought in my mind.
Yeah.
Or I can go to an event or a basketball game and be with somebody, be with a friend or a buddy who's having a beer, and I'm drinking a Pepsi.
And be fine.
And be fine.
Totally fine with it. Yep.
And so it's all about understanding where you're at, and I think that's important whenever we're talking about this is what you're capable of dealing with. And then if you ever find yourself in a situation where you are being tested or a temptation does come up, know that God gives you a way out of that situation.
Yeah.
God will always give you a way out where temptation is present.
Yeah, I think that's something to state too with this show is like everybody's recovery is different. So don't think, oh, Lawrence has been here 4 years and I've only been here for a year. I need to be where he was at a year ago. Like, your life is totally different. God's got your story is totally different, and whoever's watching and whoever's like, your story's different, and God's got you there for a reason. God's making your story for a specific, special reason, and the only reason I know it's like that is because this show would have never happened if your story wasn't exactly the way it was supposed to be and my story wasn't exactly the way it was supposed to be. So
Yeah, I was speaking with a gentleman tonight, and I actually said, sometimes I wonder. We were talking about relationships, right? And when you meet someone and how all that works, and I said, sometimes I wonder, like, what if in middle school and high school, instead of choosing, drugs and alcohol, I chose Jesus. Like I was the kid that was at the youth night on Wednesdays, and at church on Sundays, and was just fully in to being a part of the church then. What would my life look like?
Yeah.
Right? Because we were talking about, the couples where, like, it's awesome when you meet that couple where they're like, oh yeah, we went to youth night and all that stuff. We knew each other since we were like 12. They got married when they were like 19, right? They went to college, did the whole thing. Their life is perfect, right? And it's funny because if you've been in church, you've seen that couple there because they exist. And for them, that's awesome. That wasn't my story.
yeah.
God knew all the pain and all the things that I would struggle with and deal with. He also knew that he was going to come get me out of it. And everything that I've been through allows me to have a conversation, understand where you're at, what you're dealing with and what you've been through, and to sit with you and just talk with you through it.
Yep.
No judgment, no nothing, just the love of Christ that's flowing through me because of all that he's done in my life. So I think whatever your story is, they're all different. God created you for such a time as this.
Yeah.
Go through the process, and you have no idea what God can do through your life. One of the best parts about this ministry is you get to see multiple testimonies of the redemptive work of Christ.
Yep.
And how your life could have been going one way and what he does with your life.
Yeah.
And it's insane, some of the stories that I've heard.
Yeah.
Men in prison, all kinds of, it's just,
Yeah.
God is so good.
I've heard stories of guys going in prison. I've heard guys dying on the road and coming back to life. I've heard guys being drunk out of their minds and not remembering years of their lives and coming back and my story of losing everything that I ever thought I ever wanted in this life, and your story too. You still tell me stories that I haven't heard yet. So
I got stories,
we
man.
all
I
got
got
stories.
stories.
This podcast gonna be for a while, so
Yeah. And I'm not running from this last question. I just felt like all of that was necessary just based on the conversation.
go for it.
But, for me, what it looks like to submit to God's plan for change in my life is it's uncomfortable. Right? Like if God is asking you to submit, just think about what that word means, to submit. It means he has authority and you don't. And you have to bend your will to his will.
Yep.
And not your own. And these whole series of questions, the reason why they're hard is because it's talking about pride and humility.
Yeah.
My pride says, this is how I'm going to do it. This is the way I'm going to do it. This is the way I say what I'm going to do. And humility is saying, and it's your way, and I'll do what you say. And because he wants you to submit to doing what he's asking you to do, it's uncomfortable.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
Me and my son, we love to watch wrestling. I was telling you about this earlier today. He wants to go to New York. He's tripping just to get a signature from a wrestler. It's not happening. But we watch a lot of wrestling. Sometimes you get submitted.
Yep.
And I can tell you, every time I've watched somebody get submitted in WWE or the UFC, it doesn't matter. It looks uncomfortable.
Yep.
As they're going to sleep or getting their arm broke.
Yeah.
It looks uncomfortable. And so if it looks uncomfortable with that, if God is asking you to do something in your life that you do not want to do, and he is saying you need to do it, it's probably going to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And we have to get to the point where we are comfortable getting uncomfortable. Because we know that God's plan is what's good for our life.
Yep.
And it's better.
Yep. Exactly.
And for me, that means not hitting rock bottom again.
Turning a little bit earlier. A little bit sooner.
Yeah, no Dwayne Johnson. So it's tough because what I'm being asked to do is extremely uncomfortable. And scary and all of the things, right?
Yeah.
And I don't really, and it's not even that I don't want to do it. It's just that one of the things I said in group tonight, and this is going to seem like I'm taking it in a way different direction, but I think it answers it beautifully. My whole life, because I got involved with drugs and alcohol so early on, right? I think I was like 10 or 11 years old when I started drinking and smoking. I grew up, my mom died when I was 9, so I grew up in a single parent household. Dad was working all the time. I ended up around older family members and was the tag along, so I just ended up doing what they were doing, right? You don't tell, you're chilling with us, right? And so it started at a very young age, pre-pubescent, right? So when you haven't even hit puberty and you start to alter your mind, alter the way things fire, right? And you learn to get through life that way. You learn how to talk to girls that way. You go to school that way. You learn just how to deal with people that way. You go to work that way. You play sports that way. that becomes your way of doing things. And what I've found now, being sober and dealing with the trauma from childhood and dealing with the alcohol abuse and the drug addiction, is the reason it's hard is because I'm having to do things a way I've never done them before. I'm born again, which means I'm a baby out here trying to learn how to ride a bike all over again.
Oh man.
The way, doing things a different way than I've ever done them before. So the reason why it's harder than it's ever been is because I've never done it this way before.
Yeah. Yep.
And there's no coping mechanism anymore. You know, as hard as it would be, you know what I would do to do something that was difficult? I'd probably smoke a blunt before I had a hard conversation, right? And I'm not saying that's a good thing, right? It's not. I'm glad I don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
But it's what I used to do. I used to run to a bottle to deal with life sucking. I used to run and do some drugs to deal with, I don't want to deal with this right now. I want to be in a different place.
Yeah.
And that's no longer the choice. And so now I'm having to do things and rely on God.
Yep.
I never had to do that before.
Yeah.
So you're anyone that's on this journey and you're doing something different than the way you did it before, you are learning how to do life all over again.
Yeah. Yeah.
And try to teach an adult how to do something new. It's hard. That's why you teach kids how to do new things. That's why it's easier to teach a kid how to play an instrument. That's why it's easier to teach a kid a second language.
Yep.
It's harder when you're an adult to do these things. It doesn't mean that they can't be done. It's just harder.
It's just harder, yep.
And that's what I'm going through right now. That's why these 3 questions suck.
Yeah.
Because I recognize, like, oh my gosh, I'm like a child all over again. I have to be babied or not babied, but I have to be dragged through these things.
Yeah.
And luckily we have a father that's willing to do that with us, but he's still going to ask you to do things that are hard and that are uncomfortable. And now you don't have those things anymore to help you
Yeah.
get through it, because they weren't actually helping. They were harming and hurtful. And God is trying to get you to do it in a way that's actually helpful.
Yep. Ooh, that's right.
So, yeah, this question sucked.
Brutal. They sucked, but they were good. Something that just kept coming in to my head this whole conversation tonight is that Chris Rock skit. That Chris Rock joke about the tambourine being in the band. Like, God's got you on the band. He might not give you the instrument that you want to play. You might not be lead vocals or guitarist or bassist or whatever. Right now he might have you playing the tambourine, but you gotta play the heck out of that tambourine, because it's what God's given you and it's what He's calling you to do right now. And like, yeah, you can be pissed off. God, I want to play this tambourine. But you're still on his band, so you play the crap out of that tambourine. And I just kept thinking of that all night. But yeah, it is something new. You are a new creation of God, and you do have to do everything different. You do have to do everything for the first time. Like, it's new and it's different, and doing new, different, hard things is hard. But it's good. It is good. All right. Whew, that was a rough one tonight.
It hurts so good.
It hurts so good.
The thing is, someone can kill me for not knowing that the actual Bible verse, but God prunes you, right? And whether it's for a good reason or a bad reason, he still cuts you.
Still hurts.
He cuts you so that certain things will fall away, and he's got to cut things so that they can continue to grow. And no matter what, it hurts. And sometimes the questions are tough. And I say, I'm kidding around and I say the questions suck. The questions suck because they're good questions, and they're questions that make you have to look inward. You have to listen to what God is telling you, and you have to let the Holy Spirit work through these questions. The reason these questions hit week after week, or they seem so perfect for what's going on in your life, is because the Holy Spirit knows how to make each one of these questions reflect personally to you week in and week out. To push you, to prod you, to stretch you, to mold you, to grow you. And we are just being obedient in doing this in a very public fashion.
Yeah.
And being honest and open and transparent. But if it just helps one of you, then I'm glad I was obedient to the call that God has given.
Well, that helps me.
I'm so glad, Jeremy. It always helps me. There's always something to get out of it. One thing I would say in group is like, keep showing up every week. Even if it's just like one thing, one line that somebody said that sticks with you throughout the next week, that was what God brought you there for.
Yep.
And you might listen to this whole 45 minutes and be like, I didn't need 44 minutes of that. But if that 1 minute was something that you needed, then I'm glad. So
Exactly. Well, that was a rough one, but that was a good one. And I'm gonna put this out there. If you guys, anyone who's watching, needs prayer requests or want to have any other questions or want to discuss any of these, just reach out. Put it in the comments, and we'll do our best to be there for you.
Absolutely. Creating a community, ultimately. That's what the goal, I think, of this ministry is, in any regard, is to create a community of people who love you, will support you, will just listen, and give you a safe space. So it's been another week.
Yes.
This has been AfterCare. I'm Lawrence.
I'm Jeremy.
Peace.
Laters.